Tonight, I'm going to share a story that will leave you breathless. A tale of courage, sacrifice, and a desperate fight not only against the enemy, but against time itself. The sun was sinking behind the Afghan mountains, spreading fiery shades of orange and crimson across the horizon. The wind carried sand through the valley where exhausted soldiers surrounded a silent machine, a Black Hawk helicopter that refused to awaken. The mission had fallen apart. The extraction point was compromised, and the only thing that could carry them to safety now stood lifeless. Lieutenant Marcus Hale stood beside the downed aircraft, his face streaked with grime and sweat, his uniform torn from battle. They had tried everything, replacing filters, testing the ignition, even jumping power from a nearby vehicle. But the Black Hawk remained still. The enemy was advancing. Sergeant Lewis sprinted over, his breathing ragged. "Sir, we're running out of time." They're less than 4 clicks away. Hale looked toward the lifeless chopper. Inside were wounded men. Their medical supplies were almost gone, and the daylight was fading fast. That helicopter was their only hope. Chief Engineer Riley sat on top of the fuselage, covered in grease, frustration etched across his face. "Sir, I don't get it. The systems read fine. Everything's operational, but she just won't start." Hale clenched his jaw and scanned his team, young, frightened, yet holding on. Without that aircraft, they'd be surrounded and lost in the valley. The radio crackled. "Command here. Status update." Hale lifted the receiver. "Falcon team reporting. Birds down. Enemy approaching fast, requesting emergency assistance." There was silence for a moment, then command responded. "Understood. Hold position. We're sending someone." Riley looked up in disbelief. "Sending someone, sir? We don't have that kind of time." Hale said nothing. He just watched the dying light sink lower behind the ridgeline. Every second felt heavier than the last. Half an hour later, the faint hum of rotors cut through the evening sky. A single old Huey helicopter approached, faded, battered, but still flying strong. When it landed, a lone man stepped out. He wore a worn flight jacket and an old service cap. His eyes were calm but sharp. The soldiers exchanged whispers. "Who's that?" The radio answered the question. "Lieutenant Hale, meet Captain Daniel Rhodes. He trained most of our Black Hawk pilots before retirement. If anyone can fix that bird, it's him." Rhodes approached the grounded Black Hawk and rested his hand on its frame. "So this is the one giving you trouble?" he asked in a gravelly voice. Riley nodded. "Yes, sir. Everything checks out, but she's completely dead." Rhodes ran his hand along the metal as if feeling for a heartbeat. He listened to the faint clicks of cooling metal, then murmured, "She's not dead. She's scared." The men stared, puzzled. "With all respect, sir," Hale said, "it's a machine. It doesn't get scared." Rhodes gave a faint smile. "That's where you're wrong. These birds remember the men who flew them. Treat them like tools, they'll break. Treat them like comrades, they'll carry you home." Without another word, he climbed into the cockpit. His hands moved with the confidence of decades, flipping switches, whispering softly like he was talking to an old friend. Outside, the soldiers waited in silence. The night deepened. The radio hissed again, enemy 2 clicks out. Muzzle flashes flickered on the ridge. Hale's voice was tight. "Captain, we've got to move." Rhodes didn't look up. "You've been fixing her from the outside," he said quietly. "The problem's deeper, in the secondary ignition relay." He tore off a panel under the dashboard, revealing a burnt connector. Using his pocket knife and a strip of duct tape, he repaired the wire. "Try her now." Riley twisted the key. The engine coughed once, twice, and then roared to life. The sound thundered through the valley. The soldiers shouted, some laughing, others crying. The Black Hawk was alive again, but before they could celebrate, gunfire erupted from the hills. Tracers streaked through the darkness. "Everyone aboard," Hale commanded. They loaded the wounded, the crew, and the remaining fighters under a hail of bullets pinging against the armor. Rhodes took the pilot's seat, steady as stone. Hale jumped in beside him. "Sir, are you sure you can fly her?" Rhodes smirked. "Son, I was flying Black Hawks before you could walk." The helicopter lifted, blades cutting through smoke and dust, rising fast as gunfire chased them. "Hang on," Rhodes shouted, banking hard westward. Below, the valley burned. The radio came alive again. "Command to Falcon team, confirm extraction." Hale stared out the window, heart pounding. "Command, this is Falcon. We're airborne. Repeat, we are airborne. The bird is alive." Cheers erupted over the comms. As they cleared the mountains, relief washed over them. The men sat back, trembling, exhausted, grateful. Hale turned to Rhodes. "Sir, we owe you everything." Rhodes shook his head, eyes on the stars ahead. "You don't owe me a thing, son. You owe her." He patted the dashboard. "She never gave up. You just had to listen." When they landed safely at base, Rhodes stepped out without a word of praise or recognition. He looked back at the Black Hawk resting quietly under the night sky and whispered, "Good girl." Then he walked away into the darkness, the faint sound of rotor blades fading behind him. Hale watched in silence, realizing that true legends don't need medals or speeches. They just do what must be done. And that night, every man in Falcon Team understood. The Black Hawk didn't just fly again, it lived again because one man believed it could.